Once upon a time, nestled in a lush green meadow filled with sunshine and wildflowers, lived a little rabbit named Remy. Remy was known throughout the meadow for two very special things: his incredibly long, velvety ears and his absolute, unwavering love for crunchy, sweet carrots. His ears were so long that when he hopped through the tall grass, they would flop and fly behind him like two silken banners. They twitched and turned at the slightest sound, catching the whisper of the wind, the buzz of a bumblebee, and the distant call of a cuckoo bird. Remy's fur was as soft as a dandelion puff, a patchwork of light brown and creamy white that helped him blend in with the sun-dappled earth and the fluffy clouds in the sky. He was a gentle, curious creature with a twitching nose that was always sniffing out new adventures and, of course, the nearest patch of delicious carrots. Every morning, Remy would wake up in his cozy burrow, wiggle his nose, and stretch his long ears toward the entrance. The first rays of sunlight would peek in, promising a day of fun and exploration. His first thought was always the same: carrots. He would hop out of his burrow, his little white tail bobbing like a cotton ball, and begin his quest. The meadow was a vast buffet for a rabbit, but Remy was a connoisseur. He didn't just eat any carrot. He sought the juiciest, the crunchiest, the most vibrantly orange carrots he could find. He knew the best ones grew near Farmer McGregor's garden, a place both tempting and a little bit scary. But the thought of sinking his teeth into one of those perfect carrots was always worth the risk. He would nibble on a tender clover leaf for breakfast, just to tide him over, and then set off on his grand adventure, his heart thumping with excitement. One sunny afternoon, as Remy was hopping along the edge of the woods, his long ears picked up a new sound. It wasn't the chirping of the sparrows or the rustling of the leaves, but it was a soft, whimpering sound like a tiny sigh carried on the breeze. His curiosity piqued. Remy followed the sound, his soft paws making almost no noise on the forest floor. He peeked through a thicket of ferns and saw a small, fluffy squirrel sitting at the base of a giant oak tree, its bushy tail drooping sadly. Tears welled up in the squirrel's big, brown eyes. Remy, being a kind-hearted rabbit, couldn't just hop away. He cautiously approached the little creature. "Hello," he whispered, his voice as soft as his fur. "Why are you so sad?" The squirrel, whose name was Squeaky, looked up, startled. "Oh, hello," Squeaky sniffled. "I've lost my special acorn." It was the shiniest, smoothest acorn in the whole forest, and I was saving it for the winter feast. I buried it somewhere around here, but now I can't remember where. Remy's long ears drooped in sympathy. He knew how it felt to lose something precious. The thought of losing his favorite carrot patch made his own nose twitch with worry. "Don't worry, Squeaky," Remy said with a newfound determination. "My ears are very good at hearing things, and my nose is very good at smelling things. We will find your special acorn together." Squeaky's eyes widened with hope. "You'd help me?" he asked. Of course, Remy declared, puffing out his chest just a little. That's what friends are for. And so, the two new friends began their search. Remy used his long ears like giant radar dishes, turning them this way and that, listening for the faint sound of an acorn rolling or the rustle of a leaf that might be hiding it. Squeaky, meanwhile, scampered up and down tree trunks, peering into hollow logs and under mushroom caps. They searched for a long, long time. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of orange and pink, much like Remy's favorite carrots. They asked a wise old owl for advice, who hooted thoughtfully but couldn't recall seeing a shiny acorn. They questioned a family of field mice who squeaked their apologies but hadn't seen it either. Squeaky was starting to lose hope again, his bushy tail dragging in the dirt, but Remy was not one to give up. He remembered something his mother used to tell him. When you can't find something, Remy, try looking at it from a different perspective. He looked at Squeaky, then at the giant oak tree. An idea sparked in his clever rabbit brain. Squeaky, he said, when you buried the acorn, what did you see? Squeaky thought for a moment, his little forehead wrinkled. Well, he said, I saw the big red mushroom over there, and I saw the babbling brook over there, and, oh, I remember. The sun was right behind the crooked branch of this oak tree, and it made a shadow that looked just like a long, floppy rabbit ear. Remy's own ears perked up straight. A shadow like a rabbit ear, he exclaimed. He looked up at the crooked branch and then at the ground. Following the line of Squeaky's memory, he hopped over to a spot where the shadow of the branch must have fallen earlier in the day. He started digging with his strong front paws, his soft fur getting dusty. He dug and dug, his nose twitching with anticipation, and then his paws hit something hard and smooth. I found it, Remy shouted with glee. He carefully unearthed a beautiful, shiny acorn, polished to a perfect gleam. Squeaky gasped with joy and ran over, his tail now swishing happily from side to side. Oh, Remy, you found it. You're the best friend a squirrel could ever ask for, he chattered, hugging the acorn tightly. He then gave Remy a big, whiskery hug, which made Remy's soft fur tickle. To thank him, Squeaky led Remy to a secret part of the forest that Remy had never seen before. Tucked away behind a waterfall was a hidden garden, and in that garden grew the most magnificent carrots Remy had ever laid eyes on. They were long, perfectly orange, and their green tops were frilly and lush. They smelled sweeter than any carrot he had ever sniffed. Remy's eyes grew as wide as saucers, and his nose twitched so fast it looked like it was vibrating. For you, my friend, Squeaky said proudly, for being so kind and helpful. Remy took a big, crunchy bite of a carrot, and it was even more delicious than he could have imagined. It was the taste of adventure, of kindness, and of a brand new friendship. From that day on, Remy the rabbit and Squeaky the squirrel were the best of friends. They shared many more adventures, and Remy learned that while a crunchy carrot was wonderful, sharing it with a friend was the sweetest treat of all. And whenever he hopped through the meadow, his long ears flopping behind him, He carried with him the happy memory of helping a friend and discovering that the greatest treasures are not always the ones you go looking for. Create story for kids.